Welcome back, Bobcat fans, to one of our favorite series here on the Frostburg Sports Network. It's Behind the Paw, and I have a very special guest with us, our Senior Associate Athletic Director for Internal Operations, Rubin Stevenson. Rubin, I just want to get your thoughts and sort of how Frostburg has impacted your life and being here for this amount of years of what Frostburg means to you.
Well, Frostburg means a lot to me since I started here July 1, 1992, before a lot of student athletes now, even before they were born. So, I mean, it's part of who I am, and I love part of being part of the culture here and everything else, and seeing the different changes that has happened over the years.
Now, in your backstory and your journey here, you played college football at Salisbury, one of Frostburg's big rivals in football, obviously back in Division III. Played under Mike McGlinchey out there in Salisbury and went with him up to Connecticut and coached up there and then followed him here to Frostburg as well. Obviously, a coach that has meant a lot to you and a part of your success and getting you into coaching.
Yes, he was, and like you say, it was interesting coming to Frostburg from Central Connecticut, knowing that I played against Frostburg when I was in college, and back then they weren't very good. So when I actually took the job here, Rob DeSpinant, who is also he was a baseball coach and assistant coach at Salisbury, but my best friend Sherman and my college roommate Sherman Wood, who's the head coach there now, you know, they kind of gave me a lot of grief, like, how can you go to the enemy? How can you do this? How can you do that? But it was good. It's a good rivalry and everything else, and I'm glad that, you know, the last couple of years when Coach Delane put it to him and everything else, give me some bragging rights when I go down there in July.
Coming in as a defensive coordinator, you started out. You know, you also took on the role of being a compliance director along with that. So having both of those jobs and sort of the contrast between dealing with NCAA administration and then you got to go and coach a bunch of football guys, what was sort of the balance there between those?
Well, let me clarify. I was the compliance director in the sense that we had a three-prong approach. Dr. Mary Gardner, she declared the student athletes eligible or ineligible. The registrar's office made sure that they had the right amount of credit hours. I was just doing the interpretation from the NCAA because all my friends gave me grief and people looked at me like, wait a minute, how can you be the head football coach and also in charge of compliance? I was like, hold on, I just do interpretations and rules and regulations and, you know, make sure everybody understands the rules and the interpretation of the rule. I wasn't declaring the athletes eligible and ineligible because that was a big thing. Everybody was laughing at me. It's like, wait a minute. So we know why everybody's eligible. And no. We had a three-prong approach to compliance.
As the head football coach here, you know, again, going back to that Salisbury and in some of those games, you had a couple of decent years, and beating Salisbury in those years was it any kind of bittersweet to you in terms of, you know, you played there, went to a national championship with them, and now you got to go and try and beat them and being able to beat them and celebrating with your guys?
It was great for me. I wanted to beat the brakes off of them. Especially, you know, having my college roommate and the guy I looked up to as kind of a mentor over there as the head coach. It meant a lot. And I think one game where they were 9-0, and we were, I think, either 5-4, but we had played some 1AA teams and everything else, and we got off the bus and they start chanting 10-0, 10-0, 10-0. I think the score, we ended up beating them like 37-6 or something like that, because we knew who we had played that year. And, you know, I used to go down and actually stayed with Coach Wood like a week after the game to recruit PG County. And his wife was like, Rubin, why'd you do that to Sherman? I was like, well, they asked for it. You know, we wanted to play. And it was some exciting games. Got to play in Redskin Stadium, Ravens Stadium. Then we ended up playing at Towson. So it made it a good rivalry for everyone.
The Regions Cup, one of the most storied rivalries in just, you know, the state of Maryland overall. And then after your football coaching days, you stepped into a role that was kind of a new role back then, and the director of internal relations and essentially responsible for facilities and upgrades. And being in that role, you've overseen a lot of changes here at Frostburg with, you know, new stadium upgrades, getting a nice press box and the turf field and everything. How big of a part has that been to seeing some of the continued success to the athletic programs of having those facility upgrades?
I think the facility upgrades are tremendous, and I think that all comes from the leadership of our athletic director. I mean, when he came in, he had a vision of where he wanted to take this athletic program, and the upgrades and everything else has helped tremendously, not only with the overall view of the athletic department, but the university as a whole. And, every time that I go down to the stadium and, get prepared, to do game management, and or come into the PE building, and you see other teams come in and have out their phones and taking pictures and videos and everything else, it makes you feel good that, the leadership is doing things the right way.
Does it ever give you nostalgia walking down to the field or walking into the court of, your coaching days and seeing all this and then, kind of bringing you back to, I saw this when it was, there wasn't all these nice things around and it was just you went to the field, you play football, and now, we have all these sports playing on that field and the press box and everything viewing of it. Is it like a shock, a culture shock to you at all?
Not really culture shock. I think the things that really makes me feel good is when all the older guys come back. And we usually go down and touch the rock and we reminisce and talk about the old days. And they really appreciate the upgrades because we remember when it was a grass field and when it rained, and then when we played in the national playoffs, we had to warm up on the baseball field because it was so muddy and wet, and then we couldn't even get on our own game field. And it just brings back good times and good memories for everyone when all the old guys come back and say, "Coach, man, Frostburg doing things the right way."
On a personal note for you, you have two daughters of which, you've raised pretty well, and being able to coach them, they both, playing volleyball and coaching the club team, and having them work a couple games here, and I know the one does volleyball for us, but, being able to stay in sports and have that be sort of a point of coming together for you guys, and being able to do that, and, just as a family man, it's got to feel good to continue sports in the family tradition.
Yeah, it feels real good. It even feel better if they listen to what I say, but it's like the dad mentality. They'll listen to someone else who won't listen to me. I tell everyone, I had 160 football guys who would listen to every word I say. I try to tell my daughter how to correct something. She just looks at the other coach and is like, "Coach," I was like, I coached for all my life. You won't listen to me. I tell her you need to lift, you need to do this, you need to do that. But that's just part of being, dad-daughter relationships.
As the future here at Frostburg, we're obviously in our last year of Division II of not being able to make national playoffs. Going forward and looking at the future of a lot of these teams, how big has it been for you just to see all of these athletic programs take that jump from Division III up to Division II in just a couple of years? And many of them have had a lot of success already. I mean, football just won a conference championship. Women's soccer came within one goal of winning the conference championship. Men's and women's lacrosse both are very successful right now. And to see that success that they had, where playing in a tough CAC conference in Division III and now coming in an equally tough MEC, but these teams have found newfound success.
I think it's great. I think it shows the quality of coaches that we have here. That, and especially that making that move was the right move. And then the quality of athletes and the athletic talent that some of these athletes have, not only on the football field, but what they're showing in the classroom too. By keeping that GPA up higher than just the general student population, it shows that Frostburg is a great place to be. And if you want to play sports, this could be a place that you can call home. And you can not only call home while you're playing, but you can call home after you leave.
Well, Rubin, I want to thank you for coming on today. Obviously, you've got a busy time here. You've got a couple of workers working for you, running around, and we really appreciate you being here while you're looking after all of our facilities and watching our athletic teams.
Thank you. Anytime I get to promote Frostburg, it's enjoyment, and I'll do it anytime.
All right, well, stay tuned. Next week, we'll have another edition of Behind the Paw with a new coach and an athlete, so be sure to stay tuned. And as always, go Bobcats.